Happy Tuesday, Mavericks. It is Rob Reinhold. It is October 28th. Let's jump into it. We had an interesting day today. In this session, we're going to be talking about what happened today. We're going to take a look at some of the market internals. They weren't great. We're going to take a look at the current market, score it, and then we're going to be looking for trades. I've got a bull, a bear, and a sideways for you today.
Disclaimer. This video was created for professional stock and option traders. Maverick Trading is a proprietary trading firm that employs professional traders around the world. Our traders trade firm capital and keep 70 to 80% of profits they generate. All trades and analysis in this video are for professional traders only. If you are interested in becoming a professional trader for Maverick, click the apply button in the video description. Let's break down what happened today.
Let's first start off with what happened in the market. So let's take a look at the news. Equities hit new all-time highs, and there was just a continued march of good news, but it's really only good news in the whole AI semiconductor sector. The news outside of it is okay, but the news inside is tremendous. Like this morning, OpenAI and Microsoft agreed to a 27% stake in a for-profit deal. That means that OpenAI is a non-profit right now, but they basically spun off a division that's going to be for-profit, and Microsoft owns 27% of it. Microsoft had a huge gain, and so all of the corresponding companies saw a big gain. We saw NVIDIA hit new all-time highs. We saw both Microsoft and Apple hit $4 trillion in valuations. So everything in the tech sector, especially in that AI sector, is amazing. So we take a look at the final numbers for the day. Dow was up 1/3%. The S&P was up. We did get a little sell-off right at the end of the day. The S&P was up about 0.6%, closed up 0.2%. You can see the Qs, okay, they were up about 1.1%. There was a little pullback, but take a look at everything else. The Russell, down all day. Oil, down. Gold, down. If we take a look at the advanced decline line, 62% of all stocks went down. Now, this is the second day that we've seen new all-time highs with less than 50-50 on the advanced decline line. Yesterday, the advanced decline line was, I think it was 47% of stocks went up, 53 went down. So what it's telling you that the big market move that's happening, it's narrow. And to show you how narrow it is, take a look at this heat map. Look at all the red. There's a lot of red all over, but we got these huge market caps that are just keeping everything afloat. All right, let's talk about this because this has happened periodically over the last, I'm going to say 3 years, where the market gets really narrow and where all the tech stocks, all the big ones, they're carrying all the weight and the average common stock is lagging. A lot of people have used this as a reason to be bearish or a reason to not be bullish. Here's what has happened in the past. Yes, they lagged once these Mag 7 stocks finally top out and they get so overvalued. And then when they pull back, do you know where the money goes? Do you know where the money goes that starts coming out of those? It goes back into the rest of the market. It goes back into the average stock. So what happens is then you get a market where every day the big Mag 7 is down. The market is down across the board because they are such a big weight. But when you take a look at the advanced decline line and you take a look at what all the sectors are doing, it's actually really bullish. So I don't want anyone to use this logic and really what we're seeing as a reason to not be bullish. You just have to recognize what's happening right now. And right now, the Mag 7 is ruling and the common stock is underperforming. Here's the S&P 500. Remember, 40% of the S&P 500 is 11 stocks. Here is the RSP. Okay, this is the equally weighted S&P. You can see today was a really nasty day for the RSP. However, again, do not get overly bearish here. This chart looks much better than this chart. But this chart is still bullish. This chart is still a +1, +2 market at least. So you can't get bearish, but you just have to understand that right now, Mag 7 is super hot, and the rest of the market's like a +1. what will happen is they'll get cool and then the rest of the market will pick up. It's how it's been for the last really 3 or 4 years when we've seen this really narrow leadership in the heat map. So what does that mean? Look, you can be +3 on the strongest stuff. Remember, this week, our +3 sectors were tech was a +3, utilities, and healthcare. Utilities and healthcare are more defensive in nature. So if you don't want to be in the tech stocks, look elsewhere. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm looking at this market saying, okay, I don't want to be playing the NVIDIAs. They've already run like 10% over the last 4 days. So it's like, I don't want to play with that stuff. This is where, as a trader, you get a choice of where you go hunt. You could go hunt for the big, dangerous predator that's going to have big swings, or you can just go like after something that's moving really slow. And that's what I want to do here today. So in this group here, yeah, there's some more volatile stuff, but I'm really focused on the non-volatile stuff. I'm looking at Stellantis. Now, Stellantis, it's having a move. These are still 10% moves, but this is the car maker that makes Jeep and GM and all that stuff. So here we have, so it doesn't make GM, it makes Jeep and I can't remember what else it makes, Chrysler. Nice breakout today. It's a nice breakout. This is Stellantis. This isn't anything with AI. This isn't anything. It's just going up. So I think 1150 is a really easy short-term target. I think if you want to stretch to 12, you got to give yourself some more time. But I think with this trade, something like a 1050, 1150 bull call spread, you're probably going to spend about 65 cents. You got 35 cents of max gain. I think this is a no-brainer here. All you're saying is, I think it's going to hold up in this level. You don't need it to run. Again, you're playing down the risk curve. And for my sideways trade, I've got PayPal. Now, PayPal had earnings last night, and they were initially better than expected, and they also announced a deal with OpenAI. As you could see, the stock opened up, rocketed higher, but then really fell for the rest of the day. I really like that this area right up here is definitely a hard resistance area. And now that we're through earnings, I feel pretty good that PayPal is going to stay in this range. Now, does it go down to the bottom of the range all the way to 65? Probably not. But I really like it right here. Again, there's $70 at support. So I like the 70, 73, 76 butterfly. That's going to give you a profit window right in here. I'm going to go out, not this Friday, but the next Friday. So basically 8 days. Just really saying, I think it failed to break out. I don't think it's going to break out, but I don't think it's going significantly lower. I think we just hang out right here on a sideways trade. And then for a short, I found tons of great looking shorts. All I did was go to FinViz, go to the weakest stocks. I did my filters of what I'm looking for, but then the weakest stocks. And this was not the weakest, but one of the weakest. But there were great chart patterns here. This was a recent IPO, and you can see it has floundered and failed miserably. And here we are, $26, descending triangle, getting some momentum. I don't see any reason. Again, this is when markets are hitting all-time highs. I don't see any reason why this thing doesn't break 25 and move lower. I think 20 is a very aggressive target. If we were in a bearish market, I would be much more likely to pick 20. But since I'm not, I'm picking something like 23. So I like a 26, 23 bear put spread, basically down to that. That's going to have a nice, probably 2.5 to 1 risk reward on it. Have a nice payoff if it goes down. That is very directional. If you want to be non-directional, then I think just do like a 25, 27. That's going to be right there in the middle. Pretty wimpy trade. This is Firefly in the aerospace sector. And let's talk about tomorrow. Tomorrow is the Fed meeting. And typically, mornings before Fed meetings are pretty quiet. Now, we've got this really heavy bull market that's happening right now. And what happens is overnight, the futures just drift up, really for no reason other than everyone's excited. I expect the futures will probably drift up again, up 0.1, up 0.2, 0.3%. Okay, what's going to happen after that? Well, we probably get the open, and a lot of people are not going to be making any plays until the Fed meeting. So very quiet morning, and then we're going to get the statement at 2, the press conference at 2:30. I think there's going to be a moderate move. I don't think this is a FOMC meeting that we get a huge explosion, We always get moves, but I think it's going to be a moderate move. There's no question they're going to cut rates. The big question is, what do they say in the press conference? I think the press conference is where the risk is on this trade, not really on the statement. So we'll have to see what happens on the press conference. And this is the last week of the big earnings reports. We got Microsoft, Google, Meta tomorrow. We got Apple and Amazon on Thursday. And then we're pretty much through the big ones until we get to NVIDIA. Thank you so much for joining me. This is the Market Roundup.